Good morning, my Real News Midday TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning for another news update for Wednesday, September 3, 2025. And I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and a productive day. And in the news this morning, police probe St. Elizabeth shooting incident. Police are investigating an incident where a car was shot up following a car crash in St. Elizabeth on Tuesday. Head of the St. Elizabeth Police, Superintendent Coleridge Minto, said a Toyota RAV4 motorcar was shot up about 3:30 p.m. after a crash involving a motorbike. Reports from the police are that the RAV4 and the motorcycle were traveling in the same direction along Barbary Hall Main Road when the rider of the bike reportedly collided into the rear of the RAV4. Following the crash, a dispute allegedly developed which became physical between the driver of the RAV4 and the two other men. During the physical confrontation, a firearm belonging to the driver of the RAV4 was allegedly forcibly taken and used by one of the men to fire several shots in the vehicle. Place the X within the box and nothing else. While indicating that the courts are on alert for all eventualities, the island's judiciary has urged electors voting today to stick with the legislation and use the X within the box and nothing else. The Representation of the People Amendment Act 2020, which is the primary legislation governing elections, says an elector, on receiving the ballot paper from the presiding officer, shall forthwith enter one of the polling compartments and there mark his ballot paper by making a cross with a black lead pencil within the space containing the name of the candidate for whom he intends to vote, and shall then fold the ballot paper as directed so that the initials and the numbers on the counterfoil can be seen without opening it, and hand the paper to the presiding officer, who shall, without unfolding it, ascertain by examination of the initials and the numbers appearing thereon that it is the same paper as that delivered to the elector, and if the same, he shall, subject to the provisions of Section 38 forthwith, in full view of the voter and all others present, remove and destroy the counterfoil and deposit the ballot in the ballot box. It also says an elector who has inadvertently so dealt with the ballot paper delivered to him that it cannot conveniently be used shall restore it to the presiding officer, who shall so deface it as to render it a spoiled ballot. The presiding officer shall then deliver another ballot paper to the elector. Additionally, it states that every elector shall vote without undue delay and shall leave the polling station as soon as his ballot paper has been put into the ballot box. The ROPA also makes provisions for persons with disabilities, particularly the blind, to cast their ballot. An individual who is blind, for example, can allow the presiding officer to make their mark on their behalf in public, or can opt to bring a friend or a relative to assist him or her. Last Wednesday, Senior Puny Judge, now acting Judge of the Court of Appeal, Justice Lorna Shelley Williams, leading a three-member panel comprising Puny Judge Justice Sandra Wong Small and acting Puny Judge Justice Opal Smith, in an interview with the news, said the voters should avoid using markings on the ballot that could give away their identity. For instance, the particular voter has a signature drawing or something like that. If they put that drawing on the ballot, it may actually identify the individual voter. So it is a case where we are encouraging persons to stick with the legislation and use the X within the box and nothing else. We will look at each individual ballot to determine whether or not it is rejected or accepted, she said. Justice Shelley Williams made that observation while outlining the situations that can trigger a magisterial recount, in which case the courts will be called upon to intervene. A magisterial recount is triggered when the result of an election in any constituency is challenged after the final count is announced. Justice Opal Smith said the voters should refrain from getting creative with the ballots so as to ensure a smooth process. The most interesting part of the counting is in relation to the actual ballots themselves and how the voters mark the ballots. The legislation refers to a cross that should be marked by a lead pencil. I would encourage voters to stick to as closely as possible making a cross on the ballot paper in the relevant section, and that no creativity should enter the process. A cross is a cross. Stick to one cross and move on. We in the courts have had experiences of persons putting things other than crosses or even several crosses and other works of art on the ballot paper. I would encourage our voters to stick to the cross, she said. In the meantime, all parish court judges were last Wednesday engaged in a seminar to ensure that all are aware of the legislation in relation to magisterial recounts, the procedures, what they are to look out for in relation to how the recounts are conducted, how to conclude them, and what must be done to indicate that, in fact, they have been concluded. We don't know how many parish court judges are going to be involved in recounts. However, we are ensuring that all the parish court judges are aware as to the procedure and the allocations that are to be made. We wanted to make sure that our courts are prepared before elections. Before the first person has to cast a vote, we are prepared to deal with all issues related to it. And this is not only for the parish courts, Justice Shelley Williams emphasized. We have also made preparations in relation to the challenges that may be made at the Supreme Court as well, whether it be for judicial reviews or election petition applications at the Supreme Court. We are ready to proceed in relation to all issues, whether it is at the parish court level or the Supreme Court. We are trained and we are on alert for all eventualities, the senior puisne judge told the news. Police will be out in full force. The police are warning the public that the firearms will not be allowed inside the polling stations today during the general election, and encourage the voters especially to be on their best behavior. Senior Superintendent of Police Michael Bailey of the Jamaica Constabulary Forces Strategic Operations Department at the police headquarters in St. Andrew told the news on Tuesday afternoon that it was important for the public to give full cooperation to the police and other election day workers to ensure a smooth process throughout the day. We are reminding the public and especially licensed firearm holders that they cannot take any firearms to polling stations. We are reminding the public that they need to follow the instructions of the election workers, including the police. They will enforce queues. There should be no gathering before or after voting within the precincts of polling stations. A distance of at least 100 meters away from polling stations should be maintained, Bailey said as he appealed for the public's cooperation. We are just asking for a full cooperation. The police will be out in full force, and once the people comply with the instructions and stay away from intimidation and violence, we should have a smooth day. We have the entire island to secure. We will try to ensure election workers get to work safely and back from the polling stations, and that the ballot boxes are safely escorted to counting stations, SSP Bailey said. He said that the police are more prepared today to handle the election than they were during past elections in 2020 and 2016. We actually started pre-deployment to sweep the grounds from Tuesday. We are sending out advisories and reminders to the public, and we will be fully deployed starting at 4 a.m. today. The public can expect the police to be at every single polling location, polling station, major thoroughfares, all volatile areas. There will also be increased security in specialist constituencies. EOJ declares readiness as Jamaicans headed to the polls. Declaring that it is all systems go, the Electoral Office of Jamaica says it is fully prepared as Jamaicans head to the polls today in the 2025 general election, with more than 7,000 polling stations open across the island. According to the EOJ, voting will take place in 7,294 polling stations across 2,153 locations island-wide. The polls will open at 7 this morning and close at 5 p.m., after which the preliminary counting of ballots will be conducted inside the polling stations. We have completed the printing of ballots and the voters list and the distributed ballot boxes and the supplies. Returning officers commenced the meeting with their teams on Sunday with the final set of briefings scheduled for today, Director of Elections Glasspool Brown said in a press release yesterday. Brown also told the news on Tuesday that the EOJ was in the final stages of preparation. We're doing our final checks and checking everything to make sure everything is in place. But I think we should be really okay for tomorrow, he said on the eve of the election. Brown also explained that while the EOJ's technical readiness was secure, much of the day's safety relied on partnership with law enforcement. In terms of the security matter, we rely heavily on the support of the security forces, the JCF and the JDF, and we have engaged a layperson to support them in terms of what we call the one-day policemen. We have every faith in the security force in terms of dealing with whatever security issues that might arise, he said. He further noted that election officials were addressing final details to ensure a smooth start. Honestly, we're just doing our final checks to make sure everything is in place. So whatever there is, we seek to correct them for tomorrow morning, said Brown. Guys, thanks for watching. Please join us this afternoon at 2 p.m. for another news update.